Good afternoon. I'll call to order this meeting of the Hennepin County Board of Commissioners on Tuesday, May 19, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. I'm Irene Fernando, Chair of the Board and District 2 Commissioner. I'm joined by District 1 Commissioner Jeff Lundy, District 3 Commissioner Marion Green, District 4 Commissioner Angela Conley, Vice Chair and District 5 Commissioner Debbie Gotel, District 6 Commissioner Heather Edelson, and District 7 Commissioner Kevin Anderson. Hennepin County acknowledges that the magnificent land and vibrant waterways from which our institutions benefit are located upon the cultural, spiritual, and indigenous homeland of the Dakota Oyate. Hennepin County calls attention to the Dakota people's ongoing connection to this special place. On to the agenda, the first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the approval of the agenda. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioners Edelson and Anderson. All those in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 3 is Hennepin Highlights. 3A is EMS Awareness Week, presented by Dr. Timothy Kummer, Medical Director, Hennepin EMS Bridge. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Tim Kummer. I'm an emergency physician at Hennepin, also Assistant Medical Director at Hennepin EMS. Before the doctor starts talking, I just want to point out that none of the work that I'm going to talk about is possible without the incredible actual first responders, the paramedics, the dispatchers, the EMTs, some of my colleagues who are here in the back. So all of the work that I'm going to talk about is purely because of the hard work that they do. Specifically today, I'm going to talk about the work that we're doing around the opiate crisis that has happened here in Hennepin County. So just to paint a little bit of a picture of what we see at Hennepin EMS around the opiate crisis, we go on about 6 calls a day where naloxone, medication used to reverse an opiate overdose, is administered. Now that doesn't mean every one of those calls is an opiate overdose, but it means that something was going on that call where either another first responder or a community member thought this might be an opiate overdose. But we do think the vast majority of those calls are actual true opiate overdoses. And when we work with our colleagues at the state, what we come to find out is that by volume, unsurprisingly, the vast majority of non-fatal opiate overdoses that involve EMS happen here in Hennepin County and Ramsey County. More specifically, Hennepin EMS, we see about 1/3 of all non-fatal opiate overdoses for the entire state. Now, when we first hear that number, it's overwhelming and stressful, and that certainly is for my colleagues on the street. But if we flip that paradigm, we say we have profound opportunity to make an impact on the state numbers here in Minnesota. And when we look at heat maps of where these calls are, we see that, yes, the majority of it is centered in Minneapolis, from Lake Street to Franklin to downtown. But you also can notice that it is happening across the entire county, so this isn't unique to just Minneapolis. So as we reflected on this issue, as numbers were rising from 2020, 2021, and as the idea of moral injury continued to be popular because of COVID, we kind of had the realization that we were contributing to moral injury with our staff, because while we were giving patients naloxone to save their life, we weren't doing anything to get them on the path to recovery, to get them protected going forward. So we talked to a lot of smart people throughout the county and throughout our hospital, specifically folks in the addiction world, and they said, I don't understand why you don't use buprenorphine, which is a medication for opioid use disorder. Now, what buprenorphine is, it's a pill that you take every day, and it takes away the cravings. If you take it when you're in acute withdrawal, it gets rid of the withdrawal symptoms. And they said, I don't know why you're not using this on the back of your ambulances. And we said, I don't really know why we're not either. Let's give it a whirl. So we did that. We were the first EMS system in the country to have a paramedic-driven protocol. Now, what that means is that the paramedics, just like aspirin or ibuprofen or medications for nausea, can just administer this medication to a patient who fits the criteria. Patients can be in opiate withdrawal either because they got naloxone and they're in acute withdrawal, or because they stopped using and they're in withdrawal and they need help. So we're the first program in the country to allow our paramedics to do that. There's 2 other programs in the US who were doing it, but it required a physician to be on scene. And we felt that this would be safe enough that our paramedics should practice at the highest level of their skills and they could handle this. So we did it, and we kept a really close eye because it was new and it was getting attention. And this is a population that can sometimes not get the greatest care, and we want to make sure we're doing them right. So we tracked it really closely. And after a year, we found that the overwhelming majority of patients got better. Nobody got worse. And about 1/4 to 1/3 of these patients were still in some sort of treatment at a month, which is really, really profound considering we were at basically 0% and now we've risen. So it went really well. And we talked a lot about it because we felt it was really important. We felt it was a role for EMS in the opiate crisis. And what that led to was attention. Good attention for once, which is nice and not always the case. And the Department of Health reached out and said, boy, we like what you're doing. Where would you like to see this go next? And we said we would love to bridge these patients, right? This is a hypermobile population. It's a population that deals with shame a lot, and they're not always willing to step up and say, hey, I need help. So we used money from the state to create the EMS Bridge Team, which you can see a few of our members there. And what they do is they're paramedics who got extra training, and they call every patient from our EMS system or our ED who got naloxone or buprenorphine, and they just call them and say, how are you doing? Like, that's a big deal. You know, if you have a non-fatal overdose, you're more likely to be dead in a year than you are if you have a heart attack. And this is a young population who has a lot of great lives ahead of them. So these paramedics call everybody and they just say, hey, do you need anything? And that anything could be, I just need some resources, to, I'm actually in opiate withdrawal right now, I need buprenorphine. And because we have great state laws in this state, they can just drive out, meet the patient, and give buprenorphine under my license, and it works really well. Now, most patients don't answer the phone. Most patients don't return our text messages. But what we find is that we get a pretty big uptake about 6 weeks out, where patients will circle back with us and say, hey, you reached out after I had that overdose. I actually do need some help. And really our big goal with the Bridge Team is just to let them know that somebody cares, is to treat them with non-judgment and just to be there for them and kind of walk with them hand in hand until we get them plugged into care. And it's been really great. So with that program, I just want to pause and say it's not just EMS. I have to give accolades to our emergency department because we're riding their coattails. What you see here is the last 10 years, every year, the number of doses of buprenorphine given by our emergency department. And it's gone from none 5, 6, 7 years ago to about 3 a day. And I know for a fact that these numbers are higher than other very large health systems in the metro, all of their EDs combined. So we're really comfortable, and why that is so important is that has changed the culture in our ED and the culture in EMS around how we handle these patients, and we've slowly gained their trust. We have patients, we have family members reaching out. We've even made Reddit where people have posted, I want to get off fentanyl, and people will say, if you live in Hennepin County, call for Hennepin EMS to come see you. That's how I got connected. And that's a huge win. That might be the biggest win for me out of all of this. So we continue to talk about the Bridge program. We talked about buprenorphine on the back of our rigs, which just led to more attention, and it led to EMS systems saying, hey, we want to do this too, but we have no idea how, right? I'm resource rich at Hennepin EMS, and a lot of my colleagues, especially in rural Minnesota, are not. So the state again reached out and said, hey, could you kind of knowledge dump into a website? So we built this. It's called minbridge.org, and this is kind of a one-stop shop for any medical director, ambulance service provider, paramedic. They can go here, and everything you could possibly need to set up your own program is here. We've also worked with the Minnesota Regional Poison Center. We have a 24/7 urgent call line where they will help providers, paramedics manage patients who are in opiate withdrawal because we want to lower the barrier for patients to get on these medications. We continue to work with the state, and they wanted to put out formal recommendations on what we can do to lower the barriers for patients to reach these medications. And we played a big part in putting out this document that gave formal recommendations to the entire state. EMS and emergency department accessibility is a big part of that. So just wrapping up, what is the future? Obviously, sustainability is a challenge. Putting the medications on our ambulance costs basically nothing. That's just part of what we do. The Bridge Team is grant funded. And in a time when we live in very unstable grant funding, that's constantly a challenge. We have 1 year left of that grant funding. We're in the process of applying for other grants and hoping to extend it. We'd like to partner with the jail. We'd like to partner with certain communities, but obviously that can be challenging right now. I continue to make a career off of trying to break down silos. We're all doing great work, but we're not always working together. And EMS is lucky because we are involved in everything. So we continue to work to collaborate with counties and cities, not necessarily to recreate the wheel, but just work together better. And the last one there is maybe the most exciting. There's long-acting medications of this same type where you get an injection and you're covered for 2 weeks or a month. And it's really great, and there's a lot of hope there. But unsurprisingly, it's very expensive, and it gets caught up in things like prior authorizations and these types of things. So we're working to get grant funding where we could get that on the back of an ambulance so a patient could go from an unintentional overdose to being protected from dying of an overdose and having withdrawal for a month. And EMS does all of that, which I really would think would have a profound impact on the community. That's all that I have. Again, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to talk about the great works that my colleagues do, and then have me come up and be the talking head. Would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, very exciting. Colleagues, any comments or questions? Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for that presentation. So interesting, and just really appreciate it. Feels so timely, given some other conversations we've been having. I wanted to ask, you mentioned in the research that you're following up a month after, and I suspect now you probably have more time under your belt. Like, how much time are you able to follow up?
It's really hard. It's a really mobile population, and the privacy that these patients have to protect them for many good reasons really limits our ability to go beyond 30 days. And most of that is actually 30 days within our own partners who are just reporting back to us without patient-specific data, but they just say, we know this patient saw EMS, and just letting you know they're still here. So it's actually really challenging to follow these patients any longer, unfortunately.
Thank you. Thanks so much, and thanks to the team.
Commissioner Conley.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chair. Wow, it was impressive presentation and work I did not know was happening. So that's news to me. And nation leading, that's incredible. I'll just say that the paramedics that do this are out saving lives every day. Our first responders are truly heroes. And this is just part of that work. I remember that we had been seeing just this gradual increase, I wouldn't even say gradual, really big increases in opioid overdoses from the ME's office every year. And this year or last year, I think we just started to see that number decline. I can bet that the work that you do through this program, through Bridge Team, is part of what that is. And I also appreciated that you mentioned that you may not get to reach them right away, but that they call you back in a month.
Yeah.
That's a connection that builds trust, that helps people stay sober. And you're right, these are folks who have their whole lives ahead of us, and you're saving those lives, so thank you. I know we have EMS staff in the room, so I just want you to stand so you can be recognized, please. Come on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Godell.
Thank you. You know, my family's had so many wonderful interactions with EMS on sometimes the worst day of their life. And you guys have always been there for them, and they only have accolades to say about you. But I think learning about this new drug is the first time I've ever heard about it. So that's great. I'm glad that you're informing us about what we could be doing better and what we could talk about with our colleagues in NACO at a nationwide level, because I think this seems to be a game changer. So I'm really excited to hear about what you're doing and how you're getting this distributed throughout the Twin Cities. So the only other thing is I know our rates are dropping, but it'd be interesting to see those who are on this drug, what their recurrence rate is. I'm wondering if it's going down significantly. Or do you have anything anecdotally? I don't know if you've been doing this long enough to have that kind of data or
Yeah, so two thoughts come to mind. Number one, rates are going down, which is amazing.
Yeah.
One of our worries a little bit is that the Narcan saturation plan for the state worked beautifully. That also means they have to call us less. So we do wonder sometimes if the rates are actually going down or we're just hearing about them less. Okay. So there is that little question that exists, which is hard to figure out. One of the beauties of this medication, and not everybody in this work loves this answer, patients can still use when they're on this medication and be safe. There's a lot of therapy that goes into that experience of using, and patients otherwise can't go through that ritual that has gotten them through so many difficult times in their life, that ritual of using. When they're on this medication, they can go through that ritual and be safe. And what we find is that even if they do that, they will start to not need to do that ritual as much, which is a lot safer than if they stop taking the medication just to do the ritual.
Yes, the withdrawal.
Where they could have an overdose or go through withdrawal. Yeah. So it helps them get through that initial period of, I just have to go through that ritual. I have to go through it. And we say, that's fine, go ahead. You're still gonna be okay. And eventually what we hear is, I don't need to do it anymore because my brain is not feeling that high anymore. And it works, it's really, really great.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. Thank you for bringing this.
And further, colleagues, will also extend my gratitude. This is really interesting because, as you said, 5-6 years ago, naloxone and Narcan were not as commonly kind of understood. And so this is a huge point of information and education to, more broadly. One question, just to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
So this is a medication that must be administered via a healthcare professional, right? Versus,
No, so they can,
okay.
once they get a prescription, they just take it at home themselves.
okay, great.
Yeah, and actually, one of the things the state just did at this session, which is wonderful, is pharmacists can actually prescribe a bridge dose. So if you can't get a hold of your provider or whatever it may be, pharmacists will now be able to give a couple days worth of prescription, which is really important, again, for access.
That's really great. Yes, I mean, this is obviously a stronger kind of public health response versus the reactive to an actual overdose. And so, again, extend the gratitude for having the intervention, for coming up with how to kind of apply it. I noted that 80% within Hennepin County are from Minneapolis, and so I know we're kind of due back to have a little bit more opioid data. I just wanted to acknowledge that for the public, in part because I'm interested in disaggregating the favorable results we've seen countywide to make sure that we are following where there might be disparate pockets that need more specified attention, especially given the multiple public health departments that exist within Hennepin County.
Agreed.
Those are just more statements for the public. But yeah, thank you so much for your work and presentation.
Great. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
I believe we get to move on to another presentation it's the legislative session wrap-up. And so I'll invite Liz Young, Director of Intergovernmental Relations, to come up.
Chair Fernando and Commissioners, Liz Young, Director of Intergovernmental Relations. The legislature adjourned sine die on Sunday at midnight after passing several key bills over the weekend. And yesterday, legislators who are retiring gave their final floor speeches, and we anticipate nearly 25% of lawmakers will retire this year. Before I get to the must-do item of session, I do want to provide a brief high-level update on what else happened at the legislature. Our team would be happy to come back to more fully update you if that would be of interest, and the team is here if anyone has questions on a particular topic. Some of the other high-profile items this year were the state's response to fraud in public systems. This led to the creation of an independent Inspector's General's office and increased funding for the Medicaid Fraud Investigation Unit in the Attorney General's office. The state also passed a $1.2 billion bonding bill, which included a few projects that the county will act as fiscal agent for, including the St. David's and Avivo projects. The final legislative compromise on H.R. 1 mitigates some of the incoming impacts of H.R. 1, including $10.7 million in one-time SNAP administrative funding for the counties, though no funding to offset the benefit cost shift was passed. Critical access hospitals, which are primarily rural, received a rate increase on reimbursement rates. The legislature also passed one-time funding of $15 million for the Minnesota African American Family Preservation and Child Welfare Disproportionality Act and $90 million in modernization of human services IT systems, with counties at the table in how those funds will be spent and specific resources set aside for county-specific IT projects. The local homelessness prevention aid sunset has been extended to 2032, and there was also one-time $40 million increase in the Family Homelessness Prevention Assistance Program, also known as FHPAP, to assist those impacted by the staggering increases in rent and Operation Metro Surge. We continued to educate lawmakers on our zero waste efforts, and we're also able to extend the mortgage and deed capture for the Environmental Response Fund and protect against any changes to the packaging bill passed in 2023. The bill allowing the county to fill a vacancy for the medical examiner's office was also passed this year. There will be no changes to the ballpark sales tax as lawmakers left the statute unchanged this year. The legislature was also unable to advance any funding for small businesses impacted by Operation Metro Surge or gun violence prevention legislation, as neither were able to pass the House. Last week, DFL lawmakers held a sit-in for 39 hours as the Speaker refused to acknowledge the bill's passage by the Senate and allow a vote as she had promised the parents of students at Annunciation School. Instead, the legislature ended up passing increased funding for school-linked behavioral health grants and anonymous threat reporting for all schools. Overall, the session was challenged by a number of factors, including a future structural deficit and a tied House whose partisan divide has only widened since last year, as this is an election year. This year, saving the hospital was at or near the top of every caucus and the governor's to-do list and quickly emerged as a top legislative issue. What we won this legislative session is funding to stabilize the hospital now and for the next 5 years through a historic financial commitment and partnership with the state to support HCMC. This year, the hospital will receive $205 million through a direct appropriation and payment of their IGT costs. Moving forward, a reserve fund will be available with $500 million backed by the rainy day fund, so there is no general fund impact. Funds will be available until 2031, and it will be administered by the Commissioner of Management and Budget in consultation with the Commissioner of Health and a Legislative Advisory Council. HCMC is the only hospital that is eligible to access the fund, and eligibility criteria is tied to static 2024 data. There is a process to request an appropriation, but timelines for responses are spelled out in statute. This funding also comes with reporting requirements to the state and legislature, including a comprehensive financial analysis and quarterly financial disclosure. In addition, there are some changes to governance, including the conditions under which the corporate board can be dissolved and the budget approval process. A new corporate board must be appointed by January. The legislation also establishes a task force for the future governance and financing of HCMC into the future. The task force will begin their work in August and be composed of 9 members from a variety of backgrounds and experiences. They will submit a report in January of 2027 and January 2028 with their findings. So in addition to the financial support, the state is leaning in just as HR 1 will begin implementation. Their support and insight into the hospital's finances is crucial as the financing of healthcare fundamentally changes. And finally, I made this list of thank yous before I knew the outcome of the legislative session because no matter what happened, it was important to acknowledge how much work went into the legislature this year. So I'm going to thank them publicly. And I'm not going to be able to name everyone, and I'm sure I don't even know everyone who helped us with this, but to name a few. Thank you to you, the board, and especially to Commissioners Conley and Lundy for putting in some serious time and steps in St. Paul this year as our IGR co-chairs. Thank you to Jody Wentland, Kareem Murphy, Jana Johnson, Grace Hansen, Grace Helgerson, Joe Matthews, Lindsay Wolschlager, County Administration, OBF, Communications, and to everyone in this organization who dropped everything when I demanded to help us. Thank you to the whole HHS team, from Dr. Cumming to the countless doctors, nurses, techs, EMS, and labor leaders. You are the heart and soul of why a bill and an ask in a year like this was even possible. The care you provide to anyone who needs it is a model of true public service. And thank you to the patients who shared stories about the worst days of their lives to help us explain why HCMC matters. Thank you to our legislative champions, to the governor and attorney general, and the incredible and dedicated staff at the legislature and in state government. We're grateful for your commitment to the people who make HCMC the hospital it is, and for your leadership and partnership to ensure it remains a critical statewide asset. And finally, thank you to my colleagues in IGR. This session was always going to be impossibly hard after last year, and some days it did not disappoint. But I don't think I had any idea or any of us knew how much would be different and had changed. Thank you, Wanda, Liz, Akolade, Meg, Jessica, and Kirk. And thank you is not enough to Susie and Brennan. Either one of them could just as easily give this update because they put in just as much time, effort, and commitment to protecting our state's safety net. And with that, we're happy to take questions.
Before we open it up, colleagues, gratitude to Director Young and the entire IGR team. We are very, very grateful to have the collective expertise and the collective compassion in this team. And the Hennepin County Board remains absolutely committed to the vision that we've set and are grateful for the legislators and to the governor for their wisdom and commitment towards health services that work for people here in Hennepin, but most importantly, across the entire state and region. So with that, I'll first turn to the IJR co-chairs in the event you all wanted to speak, and then we'll see if any other colleague wishes to speak.
I can't stop smiling. Thank you, Madam Chair. It has been a session. And those days at the Capitol, we learned quite a lot. And I will say that your direction, just huddling with Administrator Wentland and the whole team, the dream team, taught me a lot of lessons about strategy, negotiation, how fast things change, how, something that we learned at noon changed at 11 o'clock when I look at my phone and there's a text message in there. But it's greatly appreciated. Your work is just immeasurable, the entire team, and the whole thank you list is my thank you list, right? And I know that we're going to come back next year and we're going to do some things. So you are just an incredible individual, and our team is an incredible team. And we, when I get the call, I need to show up, I know I better jump in my truck and get on 94. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, big echoes to everyone. I do think it was a team effort, and I think there were a lot of people who were there a lot, and then there were people who I only saw once, but they did something really important by showing up and providing information. I think, giving credit to the messaging, because it's so easy to get lost, and when you're responding and to lose sight of the fact that we were there to save a hospital. We weren't there to have a conversation about the national politics of healthcare. We were there for one reason only. And I think that that very specific focus on that message helped us. And, I also think we were helped by the fact that HCMC has been saving lives for a long time. And there are a lot of people who are connected to the hospital. So I thought, the hard part was going to be getting people to commit to this place can't close. And that was the easiest thing. That was done for us because of the good work that the hospital had done. And I think that even the people who didn't, at the end of the day, vote for our bills or didn't really support us, they all wanted to see the hospital saved. It was just the method of how we go about saving it. So I felt heartened by that and just the conversations across the board. And we're not done. And because this still is a problem statewide with how healthcare is set up, where it's really rationed and people who can't afford to pay for it are the ones being driven out of the system. And I think there's opportunities for us as a county and as a hospital to lead in that conversation, because it's not just us. There's, I think, 21 or 22 hospitals around the state that will close this year or next year unless something happens. And the truth is that a closure of a hospital in a rural area hurts worse than a closure of a hospital in a metro area, because we have hospitals. But when you are 3 hours from the nearest hospital and that closes, you're now 4 to 5 hours away. And we would never stomach the idea that people would be 4 or 5 hours from getting to the hospital. So I think there's a lot of work. I know legislators feel that there's a lot of stuff left to be done, but we are still live, we're still fighting. And I think that really speaks to the effort of everyone involved and the importance that everyone believed in that. And maybe this will spark people to take a second guess when they just accept the hospital closing somewhere and go, oh, well, there'll be another place where people go, and I think that's bad. The last thing I'll just say, and I did check to make sure what I say is true. Last night was the first night I haven't texted Liz in weeks, and I did check it. There was one at about in the mid-afternoon. There's one this morning, but nothing last night. And so I just want to point that out as a very big step. Congratulations on your evenings back. So thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Conley.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to add one more thing. In addition to the thank yous, just some things that I have not seen before ever. People were holding vigils outside of the hospital. There were hundreds of people showing up to rallies. Every person I ran into in the street at community meetings were just, thank you, please save our hospital. Every person I talked to has a HCMC story. I do, we all do. And I think that tells such a rich story. Every time I showed up to testify, staff from that hospital were showing up to testify. So all of the staff that work there day in and day out are also incredible human beings. And the way that the community the way that the Hennepin County community wrapped around this hospital was really a sight to see. And that just, it was love. It was all just rooted in a love of a place that has saved lives, that has healed the sick, that have done so with the utmost care and urgency. So thanks to them as well.
Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Young, and thank you to everybody who you named as well. I want to join that. I really was struck that between our IGR team, commissioners, administration, the story placement in the Star Tribune, et cetera, it was like an orchestra. And anytime you felt like, ooh, we could use some trumpets right now or something, oh, there they'd be coming right in. It was really fantastic. I wanted to also thank AMC for providing a space to build allyship across the state. It really interested me that I was, when I was at the legislature, and it was funny, I was opening every meeting with like, I'm not actually here to talk about the hospital, I'm here to just update you on the Blue Line. And people wanted to hear those updates, I'm glad. But there were so many questions about HCMC, and the buzz in the hallways was about HCMC. That felt really powerful, and that was actually relatively early on, and it just felt like it was sort of nurtured and nurtured and nurtured. And I always think of like the heat index on topics, and the heat index was just like at such a great dial, the whole time. It was magnificent, honestly. I also want to thank our residents. Thank you, Commissioner Conley, for describing how it was in your district, and I would say my district too. Like literally everywhere I went, everybody was like 100% wanted to sort of hear from me that, of course, I was on board, hear from me that absolutely the 7 commissioners were working together, that, this was a sort of full court press, and that there was nobody who was not channeling energy towards making this a success. And I thank them for, every time I spoke with people, I would say, like, well, be sure to let your legislators know, I can tell you because I would know what our legislators were thinking, but let them know anyway that you're grateful. And I just want to thank them for that urgency. And something that always strikes me in elected office, like I think one of the greatest honors that we have as elected officials is that people tell us their story and tell us like what is most personal to them and their dreams and aspirations for the region, yes, but also like what's going on in their lives and the ways in which we can support them better. And that came up again and again in the conversation around the hospital with people sharing stories of how it had touched their lives and the lives of those that they love. And it was amazing. I also wanted to offer, I appreciated it was said next year we're going to do some things, and I'm up for that, raising my hand already, and I'm here for sort of this level of coordination and alignment and strategy on this and anything in the future. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Goodell.
Thank you. I'm going to try not to repeat too much of my colleagues, but I want to talk about what I saw out there too. While I talked to legislators, I talked to my colleagues in the county, I heard from employees. That's a lot of employees in my cities where I'm at and everything, and just people I know who are employed by HCMC, and they didn't want to leave. These people didn't want to leave. I know we've lost a few people, but they said, no, we want to be here. This is what we believe in. And yes, we could go someplace and make more money. That's not what it said. They say they want to retire from HCMC. That speaks volumes, and for us to give them that stability right now means everything to them, because this is their lifelong love and now they get to pursue it. So I just have nothing but gratitude for, this wasn't what we first asked for, but it's probably what we needed, and it's probably what we could get through, and it's probably what will make work for us, right? So I'm very positive about this. And I want to thank our chamber businesses, the other hospitals and clinics too. They came up and said, we can't take on if HCMC closes. We can't take this, even if some of their departments aren't here. And I think our rural hospitals and clinics are great because they see, if we can do this here, we have a chance next year maybe to get some more for us, so that at least the legislature, I think they have it in the back of their minds always, that they have to do something about HR 1, the changes, and what it's going to mean for our rural hospitals as well as our urban hospitals. And so I just want to say how grateful I am to everybody here, unions, employers, staff at HCMC, my county board colleagues here are just great. I just have a lot of gratitude. Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Liz and team, for the incredible amount of work. I just want to share some experiences that I had, because the thanks have already been said very adequately. But Commissioner Green, you mentioned the stories, and I, had been approached by so many people who said, my loved one works at HCMC. What are we doing to make sure that the hospital is going to be around? Or my brother had an emergency and was taken to HCMC and they saved his life. And those stories were repeated in circles, community spaces, in public, at the Capitol, in organizations. You mentioned AMC. I think every commissioner that I talk to across the state has an HCMC story. And I think that speaks volumes to our ability to connect with people, the work that you were doing of making sure that the audience was receptive to what we were saying. And I do want to say one specific thing. I was at the Capitol, and a few people approached me and said, please make sure that you thank your IGR team and acknowledge them for how well they worked on this. Because they said every conversation with every single person at the Capitol was, how are we saving the hospital? And they all saw the value in it. They saw it as excellently executed and essential to how we preserved our healthcare system. And yes, there's still a lot of work to be done. This was one time, kind of a set period of time, and we do need to find a permanent solution. But because of this work, I think we are positioned to be able to do that. And I can't thank you enough for giving us the opportunity to do that. So thank you.
Commissioner Edelson.
Well, I feel unlike last. I'm grateful too. So I just want, I just want to say that I'm absolutely grateful. And I think honestly, it's a huge accomplishment in a divided legislature to get this. And so bravo to our communications team, to each of you in IGR for what you did here, that it was bipartisan, that it kept on message, and that we got it done. So congratulations on that. On the task force that's coming, because there is multiple different things that we'll be following. I just think that that's something we're going to really want to make sure that we're following. And so I don't know if IGR is going to be helping us with that, or if we'll have county staff doing that, but just making sure that, given that it is currently our asset, we need to make sure that we're monitoring the task force. But yeah, congratulations. And I was helpful to hear too, Zach Stevenson say that next year was going to be about a lot of conversations about hospitals. And so I think that sets the tone for next year as well, is just making sure that when people think about what government is in a society, you're playing like with Barbies and you're like, what's government? Maybe that was just me. You're thinking about roads and bridges, you're thinking about making sure you have public safety, and you're making sure you have healthcare for people. And so I think ultimately it's good that this session really highlighted that. So thank you.
Since you had mentioned it out loud, Commissioner Edelson, for those watching at home, there is a governor-appointed governance task force that was a part of this. That I think is meant to be up and running by August. And then Hennepin County has a governance kind of effort with a report due in June. So governance is going to mean a lot of things as it relates to our hospital and health systems moving forward. And so just in In closing, we have amazing gratitude for each of you, incredible partnership across the state. I do want to uplift the modernization effort from that we were a part of with AMC, but really to shout out Hennepin workers. I mean, Hennepin workers have done a lot of heavy lifting in advance of the modernization work, in order to kind of identify the interventions that would be most practical on behalf of counties. Lots of advancement for shelter, MAFPA services. And so I just want to acknowledge that there was, in a divided legislature where partisanship is not, always easy, our Minnesotan legislators came together to prioritize families and people and caregiving. And we extend absolute gratitude to the lawmakers and the governor for their support in that. My last comment is, I've been reflecting on this because everybody has a story about HCMC. And the story of HCMC, how it's being spoken about, is wonderful because we have this incredible service that's statewide. But as a couple of colleagues have mentioned, the story of HCMC is also a story where our rural neighbors are not receiving the care or access that they deserve. And so I certainly look forward to partnering across the state in advance of the revenue replacement needed for HR1 to really develop models where no matter where you live, you can get to a labor and delivery center. No matter where you live, you are able to access the routine preventative care. No matter if you're here for an emergency and you happen to be enjoying the beautiful nature in northern Minnesota, that you're able to access the health services that are needed. So I hope the public certainly hears an incredible alignment from their elected officials across the state around how services are absolutely on our minds, and we look forward to advancing a service ecosystem, a health ecosystem that works now and in the future. So with that, clearly no questions for you, just a lot of us chit-chatting up here, but thank you, and one more round of applause for this episode. Okay, next up, we have minutes from the previous meeting. 5A is April 28, 2026. Actually, I am calling an audible. Can we take a picture with you all?
No. Okay, all right, guys. So you didn't escape.
I'm so sorry. Yes. Okay, now we're on to 5A, April 28, 2026 meeting minutes. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Hotel?
Thank you, Commissioners Gotel and Anderson. Any notes or corrections? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 6 is referral of correspondence and department communications. 6A through D are correspondence, and 6E through Z are department communications. May I have a motion to accept and refer as recommended?
Second?
Thank you, Commissioners Lundy and Conley. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 7 is commendations, for which we have none. 8 is Commissioner Communications, and we have several. First up is National Police Week and Law Enforcement Memorial offered by Commissioner Lundy. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. This year, National Police Week was observed Sunday, May 10 through Saturday, May 16th. Every year, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office and the Minneapolis Police Department co-host an event to honor peace officers who have fallen in the line of duty within Hennepin County. This year's memorial event was held at Tuesday, May 12th, outside Minneapolis City Hall. The names of all 67 fallen officers going back to the year 1884 were read out loud. Not all professions require to run toward danger, but the men and women in law enforcement do that every day. Last week's memorial event was a time for us to reflect on those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. It was also an opportunity to express our deep gratitude, not only to officers, but to their families and the sacrifices they make. I know many of my colleagues were able to attend and represent this body, demonstrating our support and partnership with local law enforcement agencies. These brave individuals selfishly gave their lives in the line of duty during National Police Week and at the Law Enforcement Memorial. We honor all who take the oath to serve and remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Thank you, Commissioner. The next communication is Doors Open Minneapolis, offered by Commissioner Green.
Thank you. Let me go to the right place. This year, on Saturday and Sunday, May 9th and 10th, the Hennepin County Government Center participated in something called Doors Open Minneapolis. Doors Open is an annual event that offers a chance for the public to explore a behind-the-scenes look at buildings and spaces around the city. This year, more than 75 venues participated in the event. Here at the Government Center, we had 720 guests visiting across both days of the event. Visitors got to learn more about the building, its architect and history, and take tours of the Government Center spaces, including this very room, the county boardroom, district court self-help center, the jury assembly room, the courtroom, the law library, and to enjoy the fantastic views from the 24th floor. I want to thank residents and visitors that came out to explore the Government Center, and a big thank you to all our staff that gave tours and made this event a success. I know it's a favorite out there in the community, and people are always sort of comparing notes about where they went and what they saw. So it's a wonderful relationship builder. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is the State of the County recap offered by myself. Just this past week on Thursday, May 14th, we held the 2026 State of the County Address, where I had the opportunity to speak about successes that Hennepin County's had in this past year, as well as our vision for the future. The state of Hennepin County is strong because of the people of Hennepin County, the compassionate caregiving from our workforce, and our collective resolve for a more just and vibrant future. The event was held in the 625 Building Auditorium in downtown Minneapolis and was also live streamed for those who could not attend in person. I want to take a moment to thank our featured speakers and performers. Elder Lemoyne Lapointe led a ceremonial blessing to start our event, and known MPLS choir gave 2 incredible performances to open and close the address. We had a fantastic turnout and were joined by community members, county partners, and leaders from local governments and businesses. Thank you to everyone who attended. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank all of the staff who made this event possible, from production to the generating of the speech and highlighting key accomplishments for our organization. For anyone who was unable to join us for the day, or if you want to, have a nice 90-minute background music of my voice, feel welcome to check out our YouTube channel where we have the full address. And we are certainly always accepting feedback and want to make sure that this is an event that represents Hennepin County residents and workers. That's what I have. And the last update is Global Accessibility Awareness Day offered by Commissioner Gotal. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This Thursday, May 21st, is Global Accessibility Awareness Day. The purpose of this day is to get everyone talking, thinking, and learning about digital access and inclusion for more than 1 billion people who live with disabilities. Hennepin County understands the importance of digital accessibility to create and maintain inclusive experience with websites, digital tools, and technologies for both employees and for the public. We are committed to provide digital information that is accessible to everyone regardless of their ability. To elevate, prioritize, and need for accessibility digital experience and services in this county, we adopted a digital accessibility policy. That was back in 2022. We created a digital accessibility roadmap that outlines critical steps to help the organization build long-term digital accessibility maturity and made available testing tools, training standards, best practices, and guides, including the county's design system to support employees as they created and managed and improved these digital contents for online experiences. I encourage everyone to take the opportunity to learn more about digital accessibility. Accessibility grows when more of us understand the challenges people face and when we learn, practice, and build with inclusion in mind. When we learn, practice, and build with inclusion in mind. For this week and all years along, the county calls on all of us to recognize the importance of accessibility, digital services, and the role we all have connecting with residents for information, for resources, and for opportunities for those folks. By learning from the experiences of people with disabilities and removing barriers wherever we find them, we strengthen our community and ensure that every resident can fully participate in county programs and services. Accessibility is not a one-day effort. It's an ongoing commitment to serving everyone with dignity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Moving forward on the agenda, we are at the claims register. 9A is for the period ending May 1, 2026, 9B for the period ending May 8, 2026, and 9C is the claims register for the period ending May 15, 2026. May I
I
have a
move
motion?
acceptance of all three.
Thank you, Commissioner Green.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor of 9A through C, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10 are our consent items. These are items that would have passed unanimously out of committee. I'd like to pull out 10I, so I will move 10A through H and 10J through 10O. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Gotel. Before we vote on that motion, a lot is in this. Any items that colleagues would like to highlight? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're at 10I, the amendment to an agreement with Wellness That Fits, LLC, to provide mental health and wellness services to Hennepin County Sheriff's Office employees. The period June 1, 2024 to May 31, 2028, increasing the not to exceed by $450,000 for a new total not to exceed of just under $907,000. I'll move this. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. Colleagues, this is a consent item. I support the item, but I just wanted to publicly acknowledge that I had asked for follow-up information, for which we did receive, and wanted to clarify and receive verbal confirmation that I read this accurately, that any unspent funds allocated towards this cannot be reallocated to a different use. So that would be the question that I have for you, Ms. Wetland, or for someone to confirm, and then we can move to vote unless there's more discussion.
Chair Fernando, Commissioners, Rick Bazewski is here and can respond to that question.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Fernando and Commissioners. My name is Rick Bazeski. I'm the Finance Director for Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. And last week, you heard from Chief Enderline and Major Bakke, and they went through the details of this agreement, and I understand you'd received some additional follow-up. And in developing the not to exceed for this agreement, HCSO accounted for consolidating the agreements for Community Growth Solutions and the Wellness That Fits agreement. And in addition, we want to ensure that we had enough room in the agreement to account for any fluctuations in spend due to unforeseen critical incidents that required a greater need for wellness resources. This is not a request for supplemental budget appropriations, and any unspent dollars would not be going to another agreement.
Excellent, thank you. Colleagues, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of 10I, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 11 is non-consent. These are items that would have passed out of committee but not unanimously, for which we have none. 12 are progress items, meaning that you would have progressed from committee to board without a vote, and we have 2. 12A is to authorize supplemental appropriations and contingency transfers to amend the 2025 budget. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioners Gotel and Lundy. Ms. Wetland.
Chair Fernando, Commissioners, Joe Matthews, our Chief Financial Officer, is here and can provide background information.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Joe Matthews, Chief Financial Officer here at Hennepin County. And this is part of our annual process to close the prior year's financials. There are 13 adjustments that we're making here in this resolution, and I'll just briefly mention each one. There's also a schedule in your packet that has the accounting information as far as what's taking place. The first adjustment is for Hennepin Health. They've had higher enrollment than budgeted. It's a non-property tax funded department here at the county. And so they have revenue from their operations to pay for their increased costs. The next two, items 2 and 3 in Schedule 1 are for Department of Revenue fees for administering our sales taxes. And so this is just a recognition that our fee structure changed since we adopted the 2025 budget, so it's just reconciling that. The items 4 and 5 and 6 are all related to internal service funds here at the county. We have fleet services, our other employee benefits department, and the employee health plan. Those are all funds that are self-contained and have revenues that are generated to fund those operations. There's also a memo that you were provided yesterday that has some additional background if you're curious about those, or I'm happy to answer questions. And then we have 3 contingency transfers. I do want to identify that on page 131 of your packet, the numbering on the second page of the schedule got a little skewed, but these are items 7, 8, and 9 for adult representation services, for the compliance department, and for operations administration. For ARS, we had some changes to that department mid-year, and so their budget was not adequate to fully cover the increased operations. We added 5 attorneys in order to meet demand in that department. The compliance department is also a very small department that was new last year. And as we went through the year, we recognized that we did not have adequate resources dedicated to that, and that's been corrected for 2026. The operations administration department, that is where a number of costs for the improvements to the 625 auditorium take place. Their business information officer has helped coordinate the technology upgrades in that space. And so this is also recognizing that those costs occurred in that space. The other budget adjustments that are before you, there are technical adjustments to Public Works Services and Housing and Economic Development. This is related to changes in accounting practices. They don't impact the general fund's balance. And then the last 2 are 2 adjustments to capital projects with no net effect on the CIP. There is a adjustment for the Hennepin County Government Center courtroom jury reconfiguration project, which is complete. And this actually decreases the budget authority in that project to make it available for IT connectivity and transfers it to that project. And then the IT connectivity project is the other end of that transaction. And they've had increased costs for fiber installation, and so this is a way to rectify that without adjusting the overall budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on those.
Thank you for the overview and for the memo. This is an annual reconciliation that we do. Colleagues, any questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of 12A, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 12B is to establish an annual Heart of Hennepin Service Awards offered by Commissioner Edelson. I want to draw attention to an R1 that has been sent out. Would you like to move it?
I'll move it.
I'll second it. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. This was just taking feedback. Thank you to my colleagues that gave some feedback last week. And so the R1 just incorporates that the intent is that there would be multiple wards. And then just clarifying that it would be neighborhood organizations, which I think was a really good change, actually, because I think us getting into awarding organizations could be problematic. So thank you for acknowledging that. And that is all it does.
Thank you so much for bringing it forward, Commissioner. Colleagues, any discussion on this item? Again, thank you. Recognition and ensuring that there are ways by which our community can really feel kind of interactive in terms of our mission is wonderful. And so thank you for bringing this forward. All those in favor of 12B, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries and the R1 is approved. 13 is old business. These are items that would have been seen by this board previously and laid over to today, for which we have none. 14 are immediate approvals, and we have one. 14A is recognized.
Incredibly grateful for this work here in Hennepin County. The proclamation is recognition for invaluable work that the Hennepin County Community Action Partnership, often called HCAP, and all community action agencies have done across the country. I'll have the clerk read the commendation, and I'll have some additional remarks at the end. Thank you.
Whereas community action creates pathways to prosperity by helping hardworking families achieve economic independence rather than keeping them reliant on government assistance. And whereas community action is built on innovative, responsive, and efficient programs that are uniquely tailored to meet local needs. And whereas community action delivers high-impact, cost-effective results that generate a significant return on investment for local communities. And whereas community action prepares and connects individuals to private sector jobs to support the local economy. And whereas community action agencies are trusted pillars of the community that engage volunteers who donate their time to advance local progress, support working families, and contribute to lasting community success. And whereas community action programs deliver effective, high-quality assistance that strengthens community resilience and fosters local prosperity. And whereas 2026 marks the 40th anniversary of Community Action Partnership of Hennepin County's founding in 1986. Be it resolved that the Hennepin County Board of Commissioners proclaims May 2026 as Community Action Month in Hennepin County.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rose, for reading that. And I want to correct myself. I think I had the ambulance service on my mind, so I said HCAP, but it's actually CAP-HC, Community Action of Hennepin County. And I wanted to mention that probably the reason I'm bringing this forward is that I replied first to an email, but I'm joined by Commissioner Cattell and Commissioner Edelson in service on the board of CAP-HC. And I think there have been 3 county commissioners serving on the board of CAP-HC for a number of years, perhaps even since its founding, actually. It would be interesting to find out. And that really speaks to the longstanding relationship and alignment of missions. The other thing that we should be acknowledging is the 40-year anniversary of CAP-HC here in Hennepin County. I know some of you will remember that we also celebrated the anniversary of community action partnerships across the United States, but it's fun to connect here with the long history of CAP-HC here in Hennepin County. Are there other remarks? Sorry, Madam Chair, please.
No, please, go ahead, Commissioner Edelson.
Sorry, I just wanted to also acknowledge Dr. Hightower is here, who is the executive director and just such an incredible leader of CAP-HC. And so thank you for coming downtown. And it's been really an honor to serve on CAP-HC, just to learn, quite frankly, before I came here, I had no idea what CAP-HC did. But now I realize just how important your role is. And it's kind of like the county where we do a lot of hidden things. CAP-HC does a lot of really important things to uplift families. And so, Dr. Hightower, I just want to thank you genuinely for all the good things you do. So thank you.
Commissioner Goodell.
And thank you again, Dr. Hightower, for making time out of your busy schedule. It's been a challenging few years, and it's not going to get easier. So thank you for taking this challenge on, staying the course, and making sure that we can help the people that we really care about. I have been on the board of CAP-HC actually 22 some odd years off and on, because they also have cities. So I served as from the city perspective as well. So I've been through a lot of different executive directors too. And it still survived while a lot of other CAP organizations did not. And in fact, we have absorbed other organizations because of the hard work that we have done and because of our relationship with the state. And not all CAP-HCs have that great relationship with the state, but that's also to the leadership of the organization. So thank you for your hard work.
Commissioner Green.
Thank you. I also wanted to thank Dr. Clarence Hightower for being here and for your leadership at CAP-HC. And something that I've especially appreciated recently, although it's part of you, is your creative thinking and the way that you're always thinking of ways to advance the mission of the organization. So many thanks for that.
Further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, let's vote on the resolution. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and May is officially Community Action Month in Hennepin County. And Dr. Hightower, I don't know if you wanted to share any words, you're welcome to, but we definitely want to take a picture and have a proclamation for you, so it's up to you. Yeah, makes sense. And that concludes our published agenda. A motion to adjourn is in order.
Second?
Thank you, Commissioners Edelson and Gotel. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned, but don't go too far. We have a brief meeting of the Rail Authority coming up next.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Tuesday, May 19th, 2026, and I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Hennepin County Regional Railroad Authority. Our first item of business is to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion from Commissioner Anderson and a second from Commissioner Fernando. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, our agenda is approved. Excuse me, our next action is to approve the minutes from the April 28th, 2026 meeting. That's item 2A on our agenda. I'll move approval. Second from Commissioner Cattell. Any notes or edits? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the minutes are approved. We have no claims registers today. Under new business, item 4A, we have to negotiate an agreement with the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District for programmatic maintenance responsibilities with no cost to the Hennepin County Regional Railroad Authority. And a map has been attached. Again, I'll move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner Anderson. Anybody need to see more questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, that item passes, and we are adjourned. Thank you.